Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and joining me today is Sam. We're diving into something pretty unique today, AI retreats in Lapland. Now I know what you're thinking. Why would I leave my office to sit in a Finnish forest? But it turns out there's some real science behind pairing executive leadership development with nature immersion and AI mastery. Sam, this is a fascinating intersection of neuroscience, AI governance, and wellness. Where should we start?
Great question, Alex. The headline data here is pretty sobering. We're looking at 72% of executives feeling unprepared for AI deployment, and 68% citing governance gaps as their primary blocker. Meanwhile, nearly half of C-suite leaders are dealing with burnout that actually degrades their strategic thinking. So you've got a perfect storm. AI is moving fast, leaders don't feel ready, and stress is clouding judgment. That's the problem AetherTravel's Lapland retreat is trying to solve.
So it's not just a spa day in the woods. There's a real cognitive science angle here. Walk us through why Lapland specifically makes sense for this kind of transformation.
Absolutely. There's solid research showing that 3 or more consecutive days in nature measurably improves executive cognition. We're talking about a 23% increase in prefrontal cortex activation. That's the part of your brain handling complex problem-solving and strategic thinking. Here's the kicker. Executives making AI investment decisions under cognitive stress perform 40% worse on risk assessment than those in restorative environments. So if you're stressed and making billion-dollar AI bets, you're setting yourself up for failure.
That's a huge gap. But why Lapland over, say, a retreat center in California or Switzerland?
3 concrete reasons. First, the midnight sun between May and July naturally resets sleep patterns, and that circadian reset actually improves decision clarity for 6 weeks after you leave. Second, the air quality. Boreal forest in Lapland has 4,000 to 5,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter. Compare that to 100 in a typical urban office, and you're getting a massive serotonin and focus boost. Third, the location itself. Kusamo in Northeastern Finland sits near 4 national parks, and research calls this a cognitive restoration zone that increases creative problem-solving by 31%.
So you're essentially hacking your brain's reward and reset systems through environment. But this isn't just about nature walks, right? There's actual AI training happening.
Exactly. And here's where the mentorship model matters. There's a real distinction between an AI trainer and an AI mentor. Trainers transfer knowledge, mentors drive transformation. EtherTravel uses the mentorship approach, which research shows results in 81% higher engagement and 25% better performance retention compared to traditional training. Each participant gets a personal AI mentor for the full 7 days.
Walk us through what the 7 days actually looks like. Because on paper, a week in Lapland with your exec team sounds amazing, but I imagine there's a structured program.
Very structured. Days 1 and 2 focus on cognitive reset through nature immersion, but simultaneously you're covering AI governance frameworks and getting compliant with the EU AI Act. There's a leadership diagnostic built in too. Days 3 and 4 shift into hands-on build. You're actually developing your own custom AI agents tailored to your organization's specific challenges.
So not theoretical, you're leaving with something you've actually built?
Right. You're working with EtherLink's AI specialists on what they call LED architecture, which is essentially designing AI systems that integrate with your existing processes. Days 5 and 6 then layer on advanced governance and what they call a golden prompt stack, basically your organization's proprietary prompt engineering framework that becomes a repeatable asset.
That's interesting because it sounds like you're building something IP adjacent, a methodology your organization owns. What about the governance piece? That seems to be where a lot of enterprises are stuck.
This is crucial. The EU AI Act compliance is woven throughout, not bolted on at the end. So you're not learning governance in isolation, you're building it into your AI architecture from day 1. That's actually a smart pedagogical move because governance frameworks that aren't integrated into the design process tend to become compliance theater. You build it right from the start, it becomes sustainable.
So, by day 6, you've reset your nervous system, you've got hands-on AI experience, and you've built a governance framework your organization can actually use. What happens on day 7?
That's when you synthesize and plan the implementation roadmap. You're taking what you've built, what you've learned about your own leadership capacity under clarity, and charting the specific steps to scale AI in your organization. It's the capstone, the moment where transformation becomes action.
I'm curious about the neuroscience angle because you mentioned prefrontal cortex activation. Is there hard data on how long these improvements last?
The research suggests circadian reset effects last around 6 weeks, which is a meaningful window for decision-making. Cognitive gains from nature immersion can persist longer if you maintain habits, regular time in nature, sleep consistency. But here's the real value. The mentorship and hands-on building create new mental models. You're not just rested, you're transformed. You understand AI governance and architecture in a way you didn't before, and that sticks.
One more thing. I'm sure our listeners are wondering about the practical side. Is this something for a whole C-suite, or is it more individual?
The retreat is cohort-based, so you could bring your leadership team together, or individuals can attend and network with other executives facing similar challenges. There's actually value in both. If you bring your whole team, you're aligned when you return. If you go as an individual leader, you get exposure to how other organizations are solving this, and you might even find collaboration partners.
That makes sense. Sam, bottom line, why should an executive seriously consider something like this right now in 2024?
Because AI governance and safe deployment are not optional anymore, and most executives feel behind. Traditional training won't close that gap fast enough. You need cognitive clarity to make good strategic decisions about AI, and you need hands-on understanding of what's actually possible. Combining neuroscience-backed reset with practical mentorship and hands-on building is probably the most efficient way to get there. Plus, if you're burning out, you need the reset anyway.
Solid insights, Sam. For our listeners who want to dive deeper into this, the full breakdown of the 7-day framework, the neuroscience research, and how to apply for the Lapland retreat, head over to etherlink.ai and find the complete article. Thanks for joining us, Sam, and thanks to everyone listening to EtherLink AI Insights. We'll catch you next time.
Great episode, Alex. See you all soon.